Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Game of Thrones prediction video on Lady Stoneheart. First off, spoiler warning, as I will be talking about things that have occurred in the books that the show has yet to cover. So if you haven't read the books, you probably want to stop watching this video now. So first off, in my Season 5 prediction video, I stated it was highly unlikely that Lady Stoneheart would appear in the show. The most damning evidence against her making an appearance is the interview actress Michelle Fairley, who played Catelyn Stark, gave, in which she said that she would not be appearing in the show again, and basically there would be no Lady Stoneheart. My initial reaction was to label anyone who still thought Lady Stoneheart would appear in the TV series as in denial. However, the more thought I gave to it, the more I thought that Lady Stoneheart appearance may be more likely than I'm giving it credit for. To be clear, I still find the chance against her ever appearing in the show greater than the chance for. But I changed my position on how likely it is that she will appear. So let me walk through some of the arguments for and against a Lady Stoneheart appearance. Starting with the against. First is what I mentioned about Michelle Fairley said that would seem to be the most damning evidence of all. For many, it settles the matter once and for all. However, there are several ways around this. The first argument is that she's just saying this to be misleading, and that is an argument I don't buy at all. And the second argument is that she doesn't actually know whether or not Lady Stoneheart will appear on the show in the future and was just making the assumption because at the time she made the interview she had yet to be asked to return to the show. That argument I find far more likely, although still a bit flimsy. Some other negatives are it just wouldn't translate very well to screen to have a zombie-like Catelyn and would come off as hokey or jumping the shark for a TV show. Or it would take away from the impact of the Red Wedding. Or, if it were going to happen, it would have happened already had she first appeared in The Storm of Swords, and the show has already covered and surpassed that book. Therefore, if they were going to do Lady Stoneheart at all, she would have appeared already. And it's that argument I want to address first of all in the arguments for a Lady Stoneheart appearance. Although Lady Stoneheart first appeared in the epilogue for Storm of Swords, she doesn't actually appear again, and thus make a proper appearance until the last Brienne chapter of A Feast for Crows. And she only appears in that chapter, and she does not appear at all in the Dance with Dragons. Meaning that at the point we're up to in the books now, she's barely appeared in it at all. So I would argue if the show were going to include Lady Stoneheart, they most likely wouldn't have done it yet, since she doesn't really make an appearance in terms of interacting with other known characters until the end of A Feast for Crows, which the show hasn't covered yet. It's true that in A Feast for Crows, her actions are foreshadowed throughout the book, and she is a sort of unseen presence. But in the books, the reader knew who it was because her existence was revealed at the end of The Storm of Swords. However, I could see the show wanting to foreshadow her actions before actually revealing her presence to make it more of a surprise. Another argument for her making an appearance is the fact that in Season 3 of the show we were introduced to the Brotherhood Without Banners and Thoros of Myr's ability to bring people back from the dead. And it seems kind of pointless to me to introduce these major elements to the show and not pay them off. Because in the books these elements were setting up the introduction of Lady Stoneheart. So for them to not introduce Lady Stoneheart in the show would appear to be a failure to follow up on this setup. It has been proposed that perhaps the show will introduce another character that could serve the same function as Lady Stoneheart, such as Blackfish Tully, but to that I say, why? Why bother? If they're going to have someone who's going to act just like Lady Stoneheart, why not just have Lady Stoneheart? Another element that casts doubt on her making an appearance is the drastic changes coming for Jamie and Brienne's storylines in the show, the two main characters who were involved in Lady Stoneheart's storyline in the books. Jamie, we know, is being sent to Dorne in the show rather than the Riverlands, which puts him very far away from Lady Stoneheart and Brienne. As for Brienne, we still don't know where her storyline is going to take her, but we do know it has already been altered drastically by having her travel to the Vale and encounter Arya and the Hound. So it's then reasonable to assume that her storyline will continue to be altered and take a completely different path from the books. But my main argument against this, these reasons might just be contributing factors to why Lady Stoneheart's introduction was pushed back and hadn't happened in the show yet. Because they knew they were going to send Jamie to Dorne in season 5, they needed to wait until he returned. Or perhaps they will cut Jamie out of the Lady Stoneheart storyline and just have it be about Brienne. I'll leave you with one last argument on why Lady Stoneheart may yet appear in Game of Thrones, and frankly, this is the one I consider to be the strongest case for her making an appearance. Yet I had to talk about the making of the show rather than reasons within the reality of the story. At the Game of Thrones Q&A session at Comic-Con this past July, they were asked a variety of questions, but the moderator warned people in advance not to ask any questions about things that have occurred in future books that the show has yet to cover. One of the people started to ask a question about a character who appeared in the epilogue of A Storm of Swords and why she didn't appear on the show. But Dan and Dave immediately shot him down and wouldn't go near that question with a 10-foot pole. In fact, they had a "how dare you ask that question" when we told you not to attitude about it. Now, one might say that doesn't necessarily mean Lady Stoneheart will appear in the show. Perhaps they simply didn't want to talk about book territory the show hasn't covered, even if it's going to be drastically changed for the show. But compare that to later on, someone asked a question about a character who was mentioned in the books and not the TV show regarding Tyrion, that provided Tyrion with motivation to murder Tywin and drove a wedge between him and Jaime. Obviously talking about Tysha. And Dan and Dave's reaction was completely different about this. They did not at all shut the questioner down. In fact, they talked freely and openly about why Tysha was left out of the show, and tried to explain the differences from the book to the show. So this seems like a major contradiction to me. Why talk freely and openly about one character who didn't appear in the show, but completely refuse to even broach the subject of why another character didn't appear on the show, unless that character is going to appear and they didn't want to spoil it. To me, this seems the only explanation. This more than anything else has got me thinking the possibility of a Lady Stoneheart appearance in Game of Thrones is stronger than anyone thinks. My prediction is, if she were to appear, it would be at the very end of Season 5, that they would hint at her appearance and actions in Brienne's storyline throughout Season 5, but not actually reveal her until the end, just like what was done in The Feast for Crows. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. So that's it for my Game of Thrones prediction video on Lady Stoneheart. Be sure to subscribe and check out my channel for many other Game of Thrones prediction videos, and thanks a lot for watching.